Alright, last time we were together, we had just cut the leather. Since then, I've gotten a few things done. Start out with, obviously I dyed the leather on both sides, inside on and on the outside, and I finished the inside or the back side of the leather with tan coat. Then I glued it together, and after the glue dried, I took it out to my garage and I sanded the edge. Now one of these days I'm going to set up a camera in there and show y'all how I do my sanding. It seems like every time it's time to sand the leather, it gets all cold and nasty out there, and it's doing that today. And I really don't feel like messing around in the garage for it any longer than I absolutely have to. But now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and lay out and punch our stitch holes. First thing I'll need to do is to get my pattern, which has a the stitch hole on it. My stitch line pattern. There we go. Set it on top. Line it up with the edge. And then I went ahead and I scratched a line in with my scratch awl. Scratched it that way and that way. And for the rest of the stitch line, I'm going to go ahead and take my dividers, and I got those set at 1/8 of an inch, which is where I like to put my stitch lines along the edge. Like right here, I marked that 1/8 of an inch in, and it gives me a good stitch line. I think it looks good spaced like that. Plus, it does a great job of holding leather together and keeps the edge together too, like on my belt. All that, just a hair over 1/8 of an inch in. Anyway, I'll just line it up on the edge, and push it in. I don't think y'all can see where I've got that laid out there, but that's where my stitch holes are going to go. So let's get busy with it. Now my first stitch line, what I'll do is I'll take my punch and I'll go in 1 stitch length, I guess you can call it. Or, let's see if I can show this. I'll take my punch and I'll mark it or position it to the edge of leather about that far, and that's where my stitch will start. Just give it a little push. Move it over. And then what I'll do, I gotta mark this more. Where to put my divider? Gotta mark it around this curve too. As I'll go through and I'll put my punch in place. I can either just push it, or I can use my mallet and give it a little tap. I prefer to use my mallet. Basically, all that's going to do is mark where my stitch holes are going to go. I'm going to go ahead and do that all the way around, and we'll be back. Hope y'all can see that. I really can't tell on this little screen if y'all can see that or not, but I've got all my stitch holes marked out where they're going to go. The reason I do that is if it doesn't meet exactly where I want it at the ends, then I know that I got to fudge my spacing a little bit, and even sometimes I need to make single holes, and I'll use my awl for that. But the idea is to have it work properly, support it properly, keep it together, give it the strength it needs, and it's got to look good too. I'll bring this one back. Basically, that's how I did this one. So anyway, time to punch the holes. How's that done then? Just take my punch, put it where I marked it, making sure to eyeball it and keep it perpendicular to the surface of the leather. Sometimes I'll even angle it in a little bit. And ooh, punch it on through. There we go. It doesn't always like to come back out, but you know, you can use a little bit of beeswax on it to make it a little easier to come back out after the leather is dyed. If you put beeswax on it, the beeswax will transfer to the leather, and if you haven't dyed the leather yet, it'll affect the way the leather penetrates into the leather, or the way the dye penetrates into the leather, sorry. I'm going to use a combination of my 4-holer and my 2-holer. Basically, the 2-holer is going to be for the curve. The 4-holer I can do for the straight parts. And I'm going to keep punching holes in, and we'll be back again. One thing I want to put in here real quick. When I come to a corner, I'll punch it this way and this way. And that helps the thread to turn the corner. So I'm going to continue with this. Oop, didn't get all the way through. And again, we'll be back. Okay, it's got all of our stitch holes punched. Next, we're going to go ahead, bevel those edges. And after we bevel the edges, we're going to come back with a Q-tip and some black dye, touch up all the edges, make them all nice and black. And then when we come back next, we're going to go ahead and get this thing stitched. It's no big technique to dye leather, especially dyeing it black. Basically, all I do rather, is I use a dauber. See if I can find my dauber. I use the same dauber over and over. I just rinse it off and use it again. And I load it up with the dye out of my little jars. Load it up with dye. And put lots and lots of dye in it. On it rather. Well, I guess in it too, because it absorbs into leather. And then just let it sit and dry. With black dye though, you got to use a lot of it. And I keep putting more dye on the leather until the leather itself won't take anymore. It won't absorb anymore. Now we've already beveled and burnished these edges here, these edges here, here, and here. So the idea is to bevel this edge so it blends into this edge that's already been burnished. Because like I said in other videos, you want it to look good. It's a little detail to do it. Go. Okay, that's got the edges beveled, the stitch holes punched. Now all I have left to do is to touch up that dye, and after that dries, we're going to go ahead and stitch this thing. See you then.